Hi, my name is Danielle, and I am currently enrolled in an online master's program for mental health counseling. I take 2 courses at a time, which is considered full-time. They're 12 weeks per quarter. We do 12 weeks on and then 1 week off in between each quarter. And the format is we have usually 1 or 2 discussion postings that we make in the online classroom per week where we're responding to a question. We have to cite references in our responses, and then we have a certain number of responses, 1 to 2 per discussion topic, that we have to respond to other classmates' postings. And we also have 1 online application, like a paper or something, usually due every week as well. I think as far as promoting collaboration, the discussions, it depended on the class. Some of the classes were terrific, where the topic itself went to a lot of feedback and response. Some of the drier courses, like statistics, it was harder to find a response to make and harder for other people to make responses. As far as collaboration between students, I was fortunate in that right when I started the program, they had recommended that we form alliances with peers. And I actually have several students that have been going through the same program with me. So we formed a counselors coalition, and we help each other out in each class. We'll actually, like just last night, I had someone from Alabama call me to ask me for thoughts about a certain topic. So we look out for each other in that way, and that's been very supportive. But as far as the teachers go, it's pretty much like in any land-based university. It's hit or miss. Some teachers are really terrific and they want to be involved, and their feedback is really beneficial and promotes discussion, and some teachers don't get involved in the discussions at all. So I've learned to really appreciate the teachers that are there and make themselves available and promote that. I think as far as forming friendships with classmates, believe it or not, I've formed more in the online community than I had when I got my undergrad at a land-based university, partly because of the coalition that we started, but my program also requires that we all fly into a certain city once a year for a residency, and we actually get to know each other. And I didn't realize how much of a connection I had made until I had people that I'd never met coming up to me and hugging me and saying, "Oh, I'm so glad to finally meet you." And I actually have friendships that I think are going to continue past school into when we're all in our field. And that excites me. These are people who are passionate about the field that we're in, and it's a great forum in that way. I think as far as the teachers promoting that and promoting discussions and off-topic discussions, we have what's called a course cafe, where it's a separate place from the classroom where we're allowed to talk about anything we want, including questions if we have about the class that's not relevant to the specific discussion, but we're supposed to limit the discussion to the subject that they've specified. And some teachers don't care, and they'll let you bring up personal things that may or may not be quite on point. But there are some teachers that'll shut you down right away and say, let's leave that for outside of the classroom. So that really depends. But as far as student contribution, though, I think the students have always been pretty willing to discuss and share ideas and respectfully argue with each other, even if they're very opposite on their beliefs or what side of the topic they may be on. I think as far as being satisfied with the experience, I'd say I'm finding it very satisfying. I'm learning a lot. It's a topic I love, and I've made a lot of really good connections that I'm going to continue professionally afterward. I'd say with my peers, I feel valued. When you have people calling you from out of state to discuss a topic, that tends to make you feel like I matter. And in a land-based classroom where I got my undergrad degree, it was a commuter campus, so you probably had no conversation with the people around you other than maybe if you were arguing over something in class. So I really feel like I've made connections that I did not make at a land-based institution. And I think as far as satisfaction with the teachers so far, we've got a lot of really great teachers, and we've got a lot of, I think they're excellent sources, but they're not terribly good at responding online quickly enough. And if you have, a discussion post due on Wednesday and a paper due on Friday, and you emailed them on Monday to ask a question and you don't hear back from them until after the discussion's due, that's a problem. They're supposed to reply back to you within 2 days, but that does not usually happen. And that becomes very frustrating because you're trying to do what you can and you feel like you don't necessarily have any way to fix things or make sure that you're doing the job that you want to be doing as a student. But that's, again, is where it helps to have the connections with my peers, and that I can call them or email them or they call me and we figure it out together. And we do let the teacher know still, and most of the time if there's been confusion, they'll make an allowance on that. So at least they're being reasonable. I think as far as the rules and expectations that were meant to be followed, the only time I had an issue with peers as far as that went was we had a group project assigned one of the quarters, and as you can imagine, it's hard enough doing a group project when you're all in the same room with each other, but when you're all in different states, that can be tricky. And when it gets to 2 days from the project being due and 3 people haven't bothered to even respond, and you can't get a hold of the teacher, and you're pretty sure that 2 of the people aren't even in the class anymore, it's a little frustrating. You end up with 2 of you doing the work 5 people were assigned. That has been probably the only drawback that I've experienced personally. I definitely think collaborative learning has taken place and continues. The group of people that I've connected with are just tremendous about supporting each other and being there for each other in a way I just haven't experienced elsewhere. And I think what really drove the point home was when I attended the residency last year, where we all came together for 1 week to have these intensive series of lectures and videotaping sessions and such. We got to hear from the teachers themselves, which really helped drive the point home for us that they weren't our antagonists. They were there to help us, to promote our learning, and wanted to get the best from us. And also being in a room with 100+ people who were passionate about the same subject that you are was great. But what made it even more personal for me is I went through a bit of a crisis during that time. My mom got sick and was hospitalized, and I had a group of people around me that I had never met until a couple days before, and they were tremendously supportive, and it was just different. It's hard to explain or articulate how different it is from a land-based university where it's like checking in doing the whole time card thing. You're just putting in your time and leaving. And I suppose it could be that way online as well, but the experience that I'm having is just not like that. And these are people that are very compassionate and very passionate about the counseling profession. And I just know that together, the way we support each other together in learning in each class is going to be something that we continue after we've entered into the professional arena, where we support each other professionally and as we continue to learn and grow together.